Hello, welcome to another episode of CoinBlock. I'm Charles, and today I'm really excited to be talking to you about the Tolar ICO. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is definitely not financial advice. Always remember to do your own due diligence. I'm not paid, sponsored, or affiliated with any of the ICOs discussed in this video. The views expressed in this video are just my own personal opinions. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and of course hit that notification button, because investing in ICOs is time critical and it would be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. And of course, please be aware of any Telegram scammers or scammers in general online trying to impersonate me. If you want to know whether or not you're talking to me, you're going to have to go to the About section of my YouTube channel and send me a direct email there. That's the only way you can confirm that you're actually talking to the real CoinBlock. So when I look at an ICO, instead of reading the white paper for hours and hours, I just really want to break it down and look at the core mechanics or fundamentals behind that ICO project. I usually begin by looking at the token economics. I want to know what the hard cap is, what the soft cap is, how many tokens were sold to pre-sale and private sale investors, whether or not those tokens were locked up, what the circulating supply is like. These are all things that should be at the forefront of your mind before you think about investing in an ICO. The second thing I like to assess is the company profile and team behind that ICO project. I want to know whether or not they have the foresight, the grit, and the potential to really follow through and execute upon the vision that's outlined in their white paper. And finally, I like to look at the amount of hype and marketing awareness in the cryptocurrency space. There's no point of me chucking money at something if people aren't going to be talking about that ICO within the next 6, 12 or 18 months time. So today we're going to be looking at the Tolar ICO. So Tolar wants to create its own blockchain-like infrastructure that uses a proof-of-stake consensus mechanism with masternodes. It's going to have a $35 million hard cap with a 35% circulating supply and a total token supply of 1 billion tokens. 21% of tokens were sold to private sale investors with a 20% bonus and a 3-month lockup, while 5.25% of tokens were sold to pre-sale investors with a 10% bonus, and 8.75% of tokens will be sold to investors in the public ICO event, with the team getting 20% of the token distribution, with the tokens locked up for 24 months. So in order to understand the Tolar project a little bit better, we have to really compare it against its main blockchain rivals. So all these ICOs I've reviewed already. There are a few exceptions where I haven't made videos of them, like Zibi or Zilliqa, but the scoring for each one of these projects was made before these ICOs conducted their crowd sales. And I'm going to be comparing the token economics with these ICOs to Tolar in a little while. Now, when it comes to Tolar's main value proposition, what they want to do in the market, it really hinges on their distributed technology, achieving 200,000 transactions per second by incorporating a hash graph-like consensus mechanism into their public ledger technology. The consensus mechanism used is called Hashnet and is supposed to offer a superior node validation experience when contrasted against traditional blockchain network rivals. As well as having masternodes, the Tolar consensus mechanism also utilizes staking and voting rights and claims to offer interchain operability with other blockchains. Now, a quick assessment of the marketing hype for this project is relatively low. You can see here I've given it actually 5 out of 10 for the hype score. In my opinion, awareness of the project is definitely increasing, but it's slow at the moment with strong organic growth. Now that is actually a very good sign. As you know from my previous videos, organic growth is really something to watch when it comes to investing in ICO projects. Tolar does not have a bounty campaign, nor does it offer any airdrops, which suggests that investor sentiment is actually natural and not manufactured. Whether Tolar can actually increase its awareness in the market and maintain its numbers in time for the August crowd sale depends on whether it releases a solid MVP with good community support. Now, when it comes to the Tolar team, it's a difficult one. I gave them 6 out of 10 here. So Tolar's team is very large, 26 members in total, but blockchain experience is in short supply. That's the first thing I noticed. Now, when it comes to the core team members on board, you've got the CTO and co-founder, Josip Mesevic. So Mr. Josip was actually the core blockchain developer at the Blocknet cryptocurrency for 6 months, which at the time of recording had a market capitalization of $108 million with a trading volume of $168,000 on Bittrex. Blocknet currently ranks at number 119 on CoinMarketCap. Now, prior to his blockchain endeavors, Mr. Josip worked as an iOS developer in Zagreb, Croatia for 4 years. The next person who caught my eye is Mr. Jeffrey Trachel. Now, Mr. Jeffrey is one of the board members on the Tolar project and has business development experience in a wide range of companies actually, including Shoutem, a mobile app development platform, as well as working for e-commerce stores in Eastern Europe. He also worked and was the interim CEO at Paper Karma, which was voted one of Apple's top 5 disruptive apps. Then we've got Igor Jerkovic, who is a co-developer at Tolar. Now, he worked and he also interned for some time at Facebook for a total of 2 years. Then you've got Sandy Fatik, who is another core developer at Tolar. He interned at Google and Fitbit for 1 year and 4 months respectively. The final person who caught my attention on their team is Liljana Babik, who is acting as business development manager for the Tolar project, and she actually worked for 3 years at A.T. Kearney, a global management consultancy with over 1,200 employees. Now, for the advisors, this is really what lets the team down in my opinion. There's nothing really wrong with them, but they're not really hard hitters. I'm not really seeing anything there to really capture my attention. And that's why I gave them the score that I did. So you've got Mr. Villero, I can't pronounce his last name, who worked at McDonald's in the corporate capacity for over a decade, specializing in cybersecurity. The other 2 advisors hold Slovenian and Spanish nationality and have PhDs in fintech law and corporate marketing, respectively. I've never heard of these advisors. I'm sure they're brilliant, upstanding men, but I just need to see something of a higher caliber, and I wasn't feeling it with Tolar in that regard. And then we've got the token economics. So for Tolar, I actually gave them 4 out of 10, and I think that's a very fair mark. What actually annoyed me with this isn't so much the Tolar project per se, but it's online cryptocurrency commentators that just really haven't got a clue about what they're talking about when it comes to circulating supply. So I'm going to try my best to really break this down for you. If you want to know what I think about circulating supply, just watch the YouTube video I did on the Unibright ICO. Towards the end of the video, I actually give you a breakdown about circulating supply and what you need to look for. So please watch that. But you really need to compare the circulating supply of Tolar with all the other competitors that we have on my chart right here. Right, so here we go. This is what people were saying. They were saying that the amount of funding that Tolar was asking for, which in this case is $35 million for 35% equity or 35% of the tokens, was just too high. But this doesn't actually mean anything for very short-term investors and flippers, because you're only going to be holding the tokens for a few days or a week, or not even that. You're just going to dump them on the exchanges and get in and out. So the amount of tokens that are in circulation does matter in the medium to long term and very long term. But in the short term, it doesn't mean anything, because all the tokens are locked up. But all these commentators don't really understand that. And a brilliant case in point is Quark Chain. Now, Quark Chain had a hard cap of $20 million for 20% equity, for 20% of its tokens. And that's the same ratio or proportion that Tolar offered. And as we all know, I think Quark Chain made a 12x, I can't remember the exact number. Now we can see here that Wanchain had a $36 million hard cap for 51% of its tokens. Zilliqa had a $22 million hard cap for 30% of its tokens. Zebi had a $10 million hard cap for 30% of its tokens. And Credits had a $20 million hard cap for 60% of its tokens. And of course, we can't forget ICO, which had a $42 million hard cap for 50% of its tokens. Now, granted, some of the proportions with these ICOs are much better than Zilliqa and Quark Chain, like ICO or Zebi or credits. I mean, these are very good ratios for the amount of money they're asking for relative to the amount of tokens at stake that they're giving to the crowd sales. But this really doesn't mean anything if you're just going to flip, so I don't really know what people are on about. So on paper, I get it. I see what people are saying. Tolar does have a relatively high hard cap and a fairly low circulating supply. Commentators have incorrectly said that the ratio between funding sought relative to equity given is a cause for concern, but as I've just demonstrated, that doesn't seem to be the case if you're speculating or flipping on this project. The Tolar hard cap is set at $35 million with a 35% token supply. This gives the project a fully diluted hard cap of $100 million, putting it in the same league as 10x and QuantStamp, which are currently ranked at 131 and 126 on CoinMarketCap. So now we get to the good stuff. Now we're going to be looking at the positives and negatives behind the Tolar project. So there's 6 things I like about Tolar and 6 things I don't like about Tolar. Let's begin by looking at the pros behind the Tolar project. 1. Tolar won an ICO pitch contest at Ian Bellina's World Tour in Budapest. That says something, I guess. It's giving awareness to Tolar and really made it stand out from many of the other ICOs that are already out there. 2. It has an MVP planned for release at the end of this month, which is June. 3. The Tolar hashnet is mobile compatible, increasing adoption for users who want to run nodes on mobile devices. But between you and me, I just think that's a bit of a gimmick. The 4th thing I like about Tolar is that they say that dApps can be built on top of their platform, thereby increasing the longevity and utility of the Tolar token, and also potentially increasing its performance or price performance on exchanges. The 5th thing to like, of course, is the use of masternodes and proof of stake. Masternodes induce irrational buying behavior and could inflate the token price, causing greater volatility. However, long term, the reverse is also true. Don't forget, masternodes actually take tokens out of circulation, thereby increasing the project's overall token price. And the final thing I like about the Tolar project is the niche or ICO category that they're operating in. Tolar is operating in the currency ICO category, and also you can make the argument that it's operating in the masternode and to a lesser extent blockchain category. Currency ICOs have strong multipliers and have traditionally outperformed ICOs listed in the advertising, peer-to-peer, energy, healthcare, or finance niche ICO categories. Promising to bring speed and scalability into the blockchain space is likely to create a narrative that serves the few and not the many. Don't forget, ICO investing and day trading in crypto is a zero-sum game. We can't all win. Now we get to the bad stuff, the negatives. What do I not like about Tolar? Well, as I said, there's 6 things to be aware of. The first one is the code. Where is it? There's no code or public GitHub. The second thing is really the token economics. They're quite frightening, actually. Only 8.75% of the tokens will be sold during the public ICO event, with 20% of the tokens going to the founders. Now, of course, there are more tokens being released, but that's for the private sale and pre-sale investors. But only 8.75% of tokens going to you and me, the common folk? Give me a break. I expect to see something a bit better than that. And if Tolar are watching this video, I expect them to change their token economics. The third thing I didn't like about the Tolar project is really the barrier to entry. Private sale and pre-sale contributions are set between 1,000 Ether and 50 Ether, which encourages greater support from pool groups. In other words, get with rich and well connected or you're out. I just feel that this ICO has a bit of the elite attached to it. There's almost an aristocracy going on, that it's who you know and how much money you have, and not so much what you know. And that really does concern me because it does really go against the ethos and overriding ideology about what cryptocurrency is all about. And that's fighting against the system. Although I'm not really into ideas all that much. But I do think it's important to really look at the grassroots movement and see where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a whole emanated from. The fourth thing that I really don't like about Tolar, and this is really what puts me off about investing in the project, is the complete lack of big name advisors. How is Tolar going to galvanize outside support from strategic investors if its advisors don't have the recognition and requisite blockchain knowledge to stand out? I don't see any Dan Larimers or Bo Shens on the advisory panel, and that is a great concern to me as a potential investor. Now, the fifth thing I don't like about Tolar is really the fact that they're going up against big blockchain rivals that are offering greater throughput and have better teams, such as Ethereum, Icon, EOS, Arc, List, Cardano, and of course Phantom and Hedera Hashgraph. These are all blockchain projects that are very capable in my opinion, and I don't really know how Tolar are going to wing it. I don't really know how Tolar are going to pull this off if they haven't got the right team in place. And the final thing I don't like about Tolar is the roadmap. Though the project's roadmap goes all the way back to 2017, it's weak and fails to convey important information. The Tolar testnet was released in Q2 of 2018, which is right now. However, the project's public ICO will not launch until Q3 or Q4 of this year, and Tolar's mainnet won't commence until Q2 of 2019. That's a year from now. Now, for me, a 1-year mainnet offering is going to lessen demand for Tolar's tokens, causing it to follow a similar pricing trajectory to the EOS ICO back in 2017. So in conclusion, where do I see Tolar? Well, ultimately, its success in the short term, that is, hinges on one thing, and that's actually having someone very big in the cryptocurrency space coming out there and actually endorsing or promoting the Tolar project. If that happens, then Tolar is definitely investable. As it stands, I'm neutral. It hasn't got enough hype, so I can't really recommend it for an investment. It's something to watch. The main thing that concerns me is really the advisors. I don't really think much of them, and the fact that they're making claims of 200,000 transactions per second. I just think that we're getting into a numbers game here, and numbers in a speculative market don't really mean that much. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and of course hit that notification button, because investing in ICOs is time critical, and it would be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.